A man shoots at police from inside a home. The dangerous call on that coming up. But our top story tonight is what happened at Louie's on the lake tonight. A man walked in with a gun and opened fire. And we are learning about everything that has unfolded since then. It is it was a chaotic scene earlier on, but then you can also see where they were talking and interviewing the people who were inside. Of course, the big question, we're trying to learn more, not only about the victims, but also the shooter of tonight. Absolutely. We spoke earlier with Michael Turner, who's a cousin to one of the victims. We'll hear what he has to say about it. Christy Lewis is live on the scene right now. She is just east of Louie's, right there on Britain tonight. Christy, what are you hearing?
Kelly, Amanda, just a couple of minutes ago, before I update you on the investigation, I want to tell you that police just dropped off the man who was injured in all of this when he was trying to run away. He was in a sling. He says he actually broke his wrist. He was really tired and ready to go home, really just shaken up about all of this. But he said, you know, they heard the shots in there, and he grabbed his son, and they just tried to get out of there. And he actually jumped over a railing and landed on his hip and broke his wrist. So he's out of the hospital now. Like I said, the police officer just came and dropped him off, and he got in a vehicle with his family. So glad that he's able to do that, to be with his family and get home safely tonight. But gosh, what a shocking ordeal to have to go through. At this point, we do know there are 4 victims in this. There were 2 females shot, and the mother of one of those females with a minor injury, and then the man that we just spoke with who broke his wrist trying to escape all of this. The suspect is dead, shot and killed by a Good Samaritan. Police are here in this area continuing to process the scene, and they are going to be looking for new leads in all of their interviews with witnesses. There are at least 100 of them. Christy Lewis reporting live for us, and we're getting updates from all of our reporters tonight. But earlier on, we did learn a little bit more about the victims who were shot tonight. Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. We spoke earlier with Michael Turner, who's a cousin to one of the victims, actually 2 of the victims. He says it was supposed to be a night of fun.
They were celebrating a birthday, and it's such a tragic way to such a tragic end to such a special celebration. They were there to share in family. I would like to also thank the armed citizen who prevented very, very much more loss of life and tragedy in this event.
You can hear how emotional Michael Turner was. He's in North Carolina trying to get information from his family members. He said the main thing is, Oklahomans, please pray for my family. And we know they will. We have reporters who are covering every aspect of the story, including our News 9's Bonnie Campo. Let's go straight out to her. Bonnie?
Well, there are so many stories of heartbreak just like the one you heard, but still the main question so many people asking are, why would someone do this?
It's not a matter of when it's going to happen. Well, if it's going to happen, it's when. It can happen anywhere, at any time, for any reason.
Well, I was fishing on the rocks, and I heard gunshots, and I saw a guy kind of up there. He looked like he was puzzled, like, what is this? And he took off running toward me.
We heard that a patron was armed, and he shot the shooter.
When she said there was a shooting, I was like, okay, how do I get there? You know, I don't care if, you know, I got to plow through, you know, a dozen people or cars, you know, like, as long as I know you're safe.
There are so many people just saying they're glad their loved ones are getting to come home tonight. But again, you've heard from some others that are at the hospital. And that last man who was talking says he's thankful that God protected his girlfriend who was at Mama Rojas. Live on the scene on the story in Oklahoma City, Bonnie Campo, News 9.
Bonnie Campo, we appreciate that update. Jim Gardner, Bob Mills, Sky News 9 has been up over the scene since right after the shooting. And Jim, they've got the portable lights out, and the investigation continues. Here we are 3.5 hours later.
Well, that's right, Kelly. Right now, CSI crews are now over the suspect's body, processing that body. And what I mean by that, they are taking pictures. They are taking evidence in around the body. Earlier, I told you about the transom set up with the lasers so they can map the whole area and where the gunshots were fired and everything. They had flashlights going along the front of Louie's there and was looking for bullet holes along the front of Louie's there moments ago, they had flashlights going all over Louie trying to find, see where some bullet holes that, you know, we've been talking all night about Louie on the shore, and I'm sure most people know where that is, but some of our viewers that don't know where that is and exactly where this happened, let's pull back and take a wide street scope shot here and bring up street scope. You can see exactly where Louie sits. So you see Lake Hefner, you see Britton Road, you see Lake Hefner Parkway, and then the Parkway Drive, which is down, it goes down in front of Louie there. So that's exactly where, from street scope, it is. And that's one nice thing about street scope. And even in the middle of the night, we can pull up street scope and know exactly where something is. So for people that look at it, they get an exact location of where Louie on the shore is right now. But again, and as we zoom in, that's where the processing center is. That's that ballpark, Kelly and Amanda, you were talking about. You can see some cars right there. That's where they want the people to go now to be reunited with their families and stuff. And I think we have Aaron down there on the ground, and we'll hear from him. But anyway, it's going to be a long night here. Jim Garpro live from Bob Mills, Cody's 9. Back to you.
No, it is. Good job up there, Jim.
They have so many witnesses to go through and so much evidence to collect there. And as we look at Jim's shot, on the right-hand side, almost the far right-hand side of his screen, about right there, is our Kaylee Bourgeois. She's been out there. And Kaylee, we're going to talk to you. Kaylee, you've been moved a little bit farther throughout the night, away from the original crime scene.
We are north of Louie, and we had been moved back farther throughout the evening as this crime scene expanded. What we've really seen out here, Amanda and Kelly, is just the residual effects of all this chaos and how this really affected everyone out here at the lake today. One woman who was hanging out with her kids here on the bike path said she heard several gunshots. She said she could almost hear the bullets fly by, and she saw people running away from the restaurant and realized something was up. Another man wanted to get into his car in the Louie parking lot because he needed to get his insulin. A couple wanted to come pick up a witness who was inside and who was okay. So a lot of people asking a lot of questions. And again, police are directing people to those ball fields for that reunification center. So my best advice to you, based on what I've seen here, is head to that reunification center if you don't know where you're going. And if you're already here questioning things, try to find a police officer, someone who can really direct you where to go. But there is that reunification center there for a reason. We have heard people say they heard witnesses are being released, and I would assume that is where they're heading at this point. Amanda and Kelly?
Kaylee Bourgeois from just down from Louie, just north of Louie, as we take another live look from Jim Garner and Bob Mills, News 9.
Jim's over the scene. We have crews on the scene, and we have Steve Shaw, who's at the hospital, OU Medical Center, the trauma unit. Steve, update us.
Well, Kelly, I can tell you that a mother and her daughter were shot at Louie. The mother was grazed by a bullet. Her daughter was shot in the tailbone and perhaps also the abdomen. I can also tell you that all OU Medical Center has told us so far is they have 3 patients. One of them is in good, the other in fair and undetermined. And Becky, did they tell you anything new? Okay, we saw a media person show up from the hospital, but there's nothing new to report here at OU Medical Center right now. Back to you.
All right, Steve. Well, we're going to keep that little girl or that young lady in our prayers tonight. She's
Boy, we
yeah,
are.
because the abdomen injury can be very serious. That abdomen wound can be really, really serious.
And they were there at Louie to celebrate a
Yes,
birthday.
I know it.
It was there for a celebration, and then this happened. Now, anybody who was there at Louie, they were witnesses, and they were not able to get in touch with their family. They were asked to go to a reunification center because some people had to leave so quickly they didn't even grab their cell phones. Let's go out now to Aaron Brillbeck. He's been at the reunification center that has now moved. Aaron?
Yeah, we've got some news about that reunification center. The police had originally set it up over at the Lighthouse Exercise Center. That's over on Hefner Road. They've since moved it. It's now over on the corner of Britton and Lakeshore. To give you an idea of where that is, this is Britton right here next to me, where the police cars are back behind me. That's where the parkway is. That's the bridge leading over the parkway. Just on the other side of that is Louie. So family and friends who believe they may have had somebody at Louie at the time of the shooting are being asked to come here instead of to Lighthouse, where we had originally reported they should be meeting. So come here instead. We're live on the scene on the story. Aaron Brillbeck, News.